Disclaimer. Corvo is not responsible for any friends, family members, or enemies that experience the following symptoms after facing that of a Fireslinger: tingling, sizzling, scorching flesh, screaming, melting, or in some cases, experience a brief moment of regret and then explode. Please consult a healer before attempting this build.
Hey, what's up guys, this is Corvo, and today I'm going to finally give you guys my Fireslinger build that I'm using here at Level Cap. I know I'm a little late on this, and I know a lot of you guys have been asking me to do this video, but I wanted to do some testing and all of that so I know for sure that this build is working and that it is effective. Now, I'm going to try to keep this as short and simple as possible, and I'm going to go over my abilities and upgrades and amps, and I'm also going to tell you what ability upgrades I'm going to be using once I get some more Elder Gems and all that, because that's going to be really important to this build. But anyway, after I go over my amps and everything, I'm going to give you guys a quick demonstration on a target dummy to show you what you're going to be striving for when landing a kill with this build. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to announce the winner of my 7-day guest pass. Yeah, so let's get started. Alright guys, so the first thing I'm going to go over is my abilities and my ability upgrades. So I'm going to try to keep this as short and simple as possible. I'm going to assume that you guys know what each ability does, and I'm just going to go over the upgrades and what the upgrades do, just in case you don't know. So I've got Quick Draw, I've got Charge Shot with the first major tier. So you guys should know what this does. It allows it to be casted while moving, and does, you know, it bumps up its damage a little bit, and it expands the telegraph a little bit, so it's a little bit easier to land. The next one I've got is Ignite, and I've got Ignite all the way to tier 8. What Ignite does at tier 4 is it cuts the cast time to half a second, and it's honestly it's such a fast cast that you're able to spam it. So when you're getting into those big group fights in mid at Walatiki, or in anywhere in Halls of the Bloodsworn, and you want to just spread your dots around to as many targets as you want, you can just spam it all over the place. The second, the tier 8 upgrade allows you to have both the non-spell surged ignite and the spell surged ignite on the same target. So you'll actually have 2 ignites on your target. You'll have the beefy spell surged one, and then you'll have your normal one. So that's really cool. So my next ability that I have all the way tiered up is Flame Burst. Now, I've gotten a lot of crap about Flame Burst here and there, but I really like this ability. So the first upgrade allows any magic attack that you land, it cuts Flame Burst cooldown by half a second. And it only has a 7-second cooldown, so when you're using Ignite all over the place and Charge Shot, those are both magic attacks. And Flash Freeze, I have Flash Freeze down there, I'll talk about that in a sec. All those magic attacks will cut Flame Burst cooldown by half a second each time that you use it. No internal cooldown on it, you can do it as much as possible. So you basically have Flame Burst available all the time. Now, what makes Flame Burst do a ton of damage is actually the tier 8. So what the tier 8 does is, if you hit, and this is where the synergy is going to come in, guys, with Ignite. If you hit somebody with Flame Burst with tier 8 that has an Ignite on them, it will apply another dot that ticks twice. It only ticks twice, but it ticks for, in PvP it ticks for like 600, 700. So you get, and it ticks twice out of 2 seconds, so each, 1 second, 1 second, so it ticks really fast. So you have your Ignite, you have your Spell Surged Ignite, and you have your Flame Burst dots all on your target. And that's what we're going to be striving for, guys, is we're going to try to keep that uptime as much as possible. The last assault ability that I have is Assassinate. You just can't go wrong with Assassinate. In my other physical damage build that I use here and there, I have this tiered all the way up, so you get bigger crits and stuff with it. But Assassinate is just an all-around good ability. It's, you know what Assassinate does. So next I'm going to go into, sorry, that's my cell phone going off. Hopefully it's one of you guys subscribing. Anyway, I'm going to go into my utility. Again, with this build, I'm not using any support. I was dabbling around with Runes of Protection, which helped out here and there, you know, for a little bit more survivability, but excuse me. My utility abilities that I'm using is Gate, Flash Freeze, and Void Slip. Now, Void Slip is mostly you're going to be using this defensively. You know what to do with Void Slip. It's your get out of jail free card, brace all CC. You know, you can get out of a lot of stuff. Another good trick with it is, say you're chasing a big group with carrying the flag, and you don't, as a spell slinger, you know you don't want to be standing in the middle of stuff, so you can just Void Slip and sprint ahead of them and try to, you know, reap them behind you or stun them behind you, whatever. Just a good trick. Now Flash Freeze. Flash Freeze is going to be your main setup ability, along with Gate. You can use Gate the same way, but being able to root someone down and just allows you to, basically, it gives you a free cast window, so you'll have less of a chance to miss, because all of these abilities that we have, except for Quick Draw, is just a straight line telegraph. So you got to practice your aiming a lot, because, you know, missing a charge shot, missing a spell surge ignite is such a pain, because whenever you use an ability with your spell surge up, even if you miss, it still costs your spell power. So losing spell power is a big no-no. So you got to try to avoid that. Practicing aiming as much as possible is just some of the best advice I can give you. Alright, so next up we're going to go over my amps. I'm going to try to do this really quickly. Now still, I haven't gotten trigger fingers. I'm going to talk about trigger fingers first. Trigger fingers is probably one of the best amps you can get as a spell slinger, just because it cuts the cooldown on every single one of your abilities by half a second every time that you use it. And you might say, oh, Ignite has no cooldown, Flame Burst has a short cooldown, Charge Shot even has a short cooldown and all that, but what mainly I'm looking forward to with Trigger Fingers is cutting the 26-second cooldown on Flash Freeze and the big cooldown on Gate and the big cooldown on Void Slip. Shaving those seconds down on your setup abilities, so you can land kills in arena, is big, you know, a big help. So anyway, I don't have it yet. I've been farming challenges on Malgrave, because supposedly that's where you can get it, but I've done over like 120 of them, and I still haven't gotten it. I've got like every other, I've gotten like every other amp in the game for every other class. Like my alt warrior has almost every amp. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. So let's just go straight into the amp. So I did a lot of the stats amps here. I did all that you can get out of the assault tree. I got the assault power, the strike through, and the armor pierce. In hybrid assault support, I took all crit hit and I took all crit severity. So the two that I took here in tier 2, for now, I took Deadly Chain, which what Deadly Chain does is it gives you an empower stack depending on what abilities you use. So when you use a physical attack, you get a stack of increased physical damage by 1.5%, and it stacks 3 times. And the same thing for magic. You get a magic empower every time that you use a magic ability, which is good. So you can buff up basically you can just buff up all your damage by, what would that be, like 4.5%? Which is, you know, people are like, oh, 4.5%. It counts, man. I'm telling you. Next one I'm using is Withering Magic. Now, Withering Magic works really, really well with this build, because we're pumping out a lot of magic damage. With our Ignite, our Flame Burst, our Charge Shot, those are all magic damage. Even our Flash Freeze counts as magic damage. It's all magic damage. So with Withering Magic, whenever you hit an opponent with a Spell Surge ability, you give them a debuff, which reduces their magic resistance by 7.2%. So that's pretty good. And that's also going to synergize with the other tier 2 hybrid utility, or assault, hybrid assault utility tree that I'm using. I'm using penetrating rounds, so whenever you land a crit, it applies an expose. This is mainly for PvP, not PvE. The expose decreases their PvP defense rating by 5% for 5 seconds. Now, I'm not exactly sure how much the PvP offense and PvP defense is actually giving us right now, because I was told that it's glitching out. But anyway, all around good ability. Eventually that PvP offense and PvP defense thing will get fixed, so I'll still probably be using this because it synergizes well with everything. It synergizes with your Withering Magic, your Deadly Chain. You get increased damage with Deadly Chain, and then you drop their PvP defense on a crit, and then when you get that crit, you get your Flame Burst. So when you pop a Flame Burst on an ignited target with Withering Magic and Penetrating Rounds debuffed on them, you get some pretty good burst damage just from your dots and stuff within those 5 seconds. So next I'm going to go over the tier 3 assault. Of course I've got Assassinate, and the next one I'm using is Surge Damage. This is another one of those synergy things that's working with all of these other ones. I'm gonna go over that one in a second. Sorry, I skipped that. But Surge Damage, using a spell surge ability grants an empower for 4 seconds, and it increases all damage dealt by 10%. So with this synergy, we've got their magic resistance down, we've got 10% increased damage, we've got their PvP defense down, and now the next one that I'm using, I'm probably going to be switching this out. I honestly couldn't think of anything else I really wanted or what would work. I'm using Killer, and what Killer does is whenever you kill somebody, you get a stack of Empower, which increases your assault power by 4.5% of its current maximum, and it stacks 4 times. So it's pretty cool when you get in the big group fights and you start taking mowing some people down, and you get 4 stacks of Killer, and you can just own somebody so fast. It's really satisfying. It's awesome. The next ones I'm just using cooldowns here, because cutting cooldowns as a Spellslinger, as any class, I'm sure, it is a big deal. So I got the 5%, 5%, 5%, so all of my cooldowns are cut by 15%. Yeah, so those are my amps, guys, and here in a second I'm going to go over to the target dummy and give you guys a little demonstration. Alright guys, so I already went over all the abilities and amps and everything, so you guys should have some idea of what we're going to be going for here. So I'm going to do a slow run through of what I do, and then I'll do a run through at full speed, I suppose. So what I like to do is keep up my regular Ignite and use Quick Draw until I get a Flame Burst proc. So I've got my Flame Burst proc and I've got my dot on my target, so now I'm going to root, Flame Burst, Spell Surge, Ignite, Assassinate, Charge Shot, and then reapply my regular Ignite, and then just use Flame Burst if it's available, and use Quick Draw as a filler. So that's the basic, simple way of using a full spell surge on somebody. Now I'm gonna go into the main reasons of why we use, just quickly, the main reason why I don't like using my spell surge Ignite unless I have a root or a stun or something on my target, or I know that I will land it, because the cast of it is so quick. Like, look, you can spam it. The cast of it is so quick, and the telegraph is so thin that with moving targets and everything, and if you miss using spell surge and you spend that spell surge, it'll greatly decrease your burst, even with a dot spec like this. Next thing I want to quickly go over is, I'm sure you guys know that I'm hoping that you guys know what how ignite works. It's a very, very short dot. It's 5 seconds, but what's important is on the last tick, it's a 6 second, I'm sorry, 6 second dot. On the last tick, it does an increased amount of damage, like triple the damage, if not more. Quadruple, yeah, mainly almost quadruple the damage. So you don't want to overlap ignites too much. Like if you're going into a mid fight and you just want to spread dots all over the place like this and just spam it around, you know, go right ahead. But if you're going 1v1 on someone, don't overlap your ignites. Main thing. Next thing, just work on your spell surge management. That's the other thing I want to talk to you guys about. Knowing that certain spells that are on this build will not use your spell surge. Main key thing here in this build is managing your dots and managing your flame burst procs and making sure that you land those flame burst on a target that is ignited. Your target needs to be ignited if you want to use flame burst. That's key. Second thing to know, your ignite dot ticks, the crits will not activate flame burst, but the last tick, the last tick where it does the increased damage, I don't know if it's a bug or what, but if that tick crits, you will get a flame burst proc. Other than that, guys, I think that's it on the demonstration. Alright guys, so for the winner of the 7-day guest pass, the winner is going to be Mac Fearson. I hope I pronounced your name right. Your name should be up on the screen right now. I'm going to be sending you a YouTube inbox with the guest pass code and letting you know that you win. Anyway guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. I've got a couple other builds that I run here and there if you guys want me to do more guides on them. And if you guys want to let me know what you think and what changes you would make, and if you have tips for me, make sure to leave them in the comments below. I love bouncing ideas off of people. This game is pretty new, very, very new, and we're all learning here and learning what's best. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure that you guys are subscribed to see some more from me. And yeah, this is Corvo, and I'll see you guys next time.